Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's 501c drop from BetterUnite. I'm Leya Simmons. I am the CEO and co-founder of BetterUnite. Welcome to our Tuesday, always Tuesdays at 1:30 Central webinar slash podcast, our 501c drop. I'm really excited about today's topic. As you can see here on the screen, make it fun, make it work, interactive revenue enhancers that drive real results. I mean, we all know that we are back in Gala season. Shannon, my guest here today, and I were just talking about this full swing, full throated. Here we go. But what I see our nonprofits not struggle with, but thinking about, and I think also our guests kind of expecting, are some differences, some plays on the ordinary, not our, galas as usual. We still need these events, these galas to perform and to do all of the things that we are thinking of, but we also want them to feel fresh and new and innovative. And my guest today, Shannon, has some really amazing ideas in that regard. So welcome, Shannon Eason.
Well, thanks. It's so great to be here with you, Leah. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course, I'm so happy. I got to meet Shannon last year. We were just talking about this outside of Chicago at a National Auctioneer Association event, and she was very generously doing a gala dress swap with other female auctioneers. I loved it so much. Your big heart shines way in advance of you, Shannon.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes. Welcome to my gown room where I have like 135 gowns. And so it's kind of like, oh, let's just swap some of those. So yes, some of us auctioneers get together and then we just share our gowns, and because you don't want to wear the same one, of course,
No,
to two
no,
different events. So you just
100%.
swap them around. A guy has it made. He just changes out his jacket or puts on a different tie and it looks different. But women, oh my gosh, we have to put a different gown on. You're talking a
Every
different story
single
here.
time. Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, I'm going to read a little bit of your bio here that I have. It's a wonderfully storied bio. So I'll also let you do a little bit of introducing of yourself. So Shannon Eason is a fundraising auction expert and true industry icon, as I just noted, an international auctioneer champion who's spent 35 years, 35 plus years, which I can't believe looking at you, but okay, conducting benefit auctions coast to coast for organizations of all sizes, helping raise more than $100 million. That's $100 million. Shannon is known worldwide for her professionalism, her integrity, and innovation. And yes, she's recognized for her gift to sell. But what really sets her apart is her ability to create genuine, heartfelt connection with clients and audiences. She knows how to inspire bidders to respond to the call of philanthropy, and she measures success by the compliments that matter the most. She understands what we need, and Shannon truly believes in our mission. On top of that, Shannon has spent decades giving back as a highly sought after teacher, instructor, presenter, and mentor, shaping the next generation of auctioneers and leading workshops nationwide. She's also the CEO and founder of Everything Gala as of, you said, January of 2025, right, Shannon?
Yes.
Nice. Where she conducts auctions, consults with nonprofits, speaks nationally, and supports affiliates across the country on and off the stage. Shannon, I am so glad that you're here.
Well, thanks. Like I said, I'm excited I follow you and I watch your posts and you're so fun and you have so much energy. And I'm like, oh, I can totally relate with her.
I've been, I don't know that I'm not at 35 years, but I have been around nonprofits and nonprofit events for a couple of decades. So I speak the language fluently. I just happen to also speak a tech language now as well. And, but they
I'm
have
jealous. I'm
collided
jealous
and
of that.
colluded, yep, to put me with you and people like you. And I just love it. It's my favorite thing. I love nonprofit events. I frankly think that they are this like a magical time that we get to bring people that support missions together to in real life communicate and be together, be a part of a collective and in a community. So, and you all as auctioneers, and you particularly, the magic, the energy that you all bring is really something extraordinary and so necessary and so needed. So I loved that you had actually, Shannon, speaking of LinkedIn, I saw a post of yours, or I'm sorry, I think it was a blog post maybe, on this topic. And I was just fascinated by, the idea of like, let's think about ways that we can keep the funds coming in and keep the revenue there, but also create something fresh and new.
That's what everyone always says. Okay, we've been doing the same thing for years. What do we want to do? But it's really funny. We get stuck in the rut of, even when you give someone new ideas, the very first thing they say is, well, now we've always done it this way. So they say they want to change, but do they really want to change? So that's really the key thing is, I like people to at least be open-minded. Let's just throw out some fun ideas. And I tell organizations, I'm not here to micromanage you. So I want you to take the ideas that you think sound fun and let's incorporate those. And if there's something that you're like, we're going to pass on that one, that's okay. So we'll do the things that sound good and make them successful. And the other things, I'll wait, watch what you do, and then maybe make some more suggestions after that.
Okay, well, that was actually, you just literally teed up my first question perfectly, because it's all about change. Like, so I'd be curious to know, before we go, kind of suggesting new ideas to some of the nonprofits, what have you seen change within the galas and the events, because they're not all galas that you all are working. What have you seen change the most in the past 5 years, or list a few?
I think so many people want to be more casual and they really want to change it up and not have the formal sit down dinner. And then they change. So then they do kind of a standing reception and realize that, wow, it was a great in theory, but it didn't work, because when people are standing, they talk. When people are at high tops, they talk. When people are standing in the back with the high tops all around the back of the room, they talk. So it's really hard to get the attention of people if they're not seated. So just, that's probably one of my pro tip number ones. A seated audience is a more attentive audience.
It's captive, right? Absolutely. I have actually been to events where what sounded good in theory, the walk around and then we've got someone on stage struggling to get their attention, which then it almost feels like it's part of noise as opposed to an intentional effort on the part of the nonprofits.
You're exactly right. And, we've seen a big change over from going to the sit down dinner to food stations. That's probably in the last 5 years. I've seen a huge trend towards food stations. And that can be a lot of fun. You can get people to try new things. They feel like they're getting a more inclusive opportunity, because then you can have a vegan station. You can have, you can offer gluten-free stations. So you can really have people feel like, oh, I've got a place here, instead of having to ask for the special menu, So it's a nice way to share just inclusivity. So, and that's working. And as long as you have a good timeline where you're allowing people the opportunity to go through the food station and then come back and sit down and then have a good starting time. And one thing,
curious, yeah. So the magic is the timeline. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, the thing that really helps with that is having, okay, this is a good one, having a clock on the screen, a countdown clock to when the program is going to start. Oh my, it's a game changer.
Brilliant. I've never seen that.
So, because if you're looking, you're like, oh, 8 minutes, I've got time to run to the restroom. You're going to intentionally go do that now. Whereas otherwise, unless someone says in the voice of God, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting in 10 minutes, then you might think, ooh, I better grab a drink. I'm going to go to the restroom, get all that done before the program starts. So the countdown clock, I love.
That is just, I'm really feel like the mind blown emoji here. That is so wonderful, because I've seen countdown clocks. Well, we have it in our software for like the silent auction for when it's going to end, or I've seen other kinds of countdown clocks, but for the timing of the actual flow of the event, so smart. I love that. Yeah. So, okay. So you do all of this planning in advance with the nonprofit, with the organizations, but when you walk into the room, I know that, frankly, I guess maybe this is a two-part question, because another piece of the question just came to me. How do you talk to the nonprofit to kind of figure out who's going to be in the room? What are the questions that you're asking them?
Oh, I specifically want to know who's going to be in the room. And I mean who, like names.
Like names.
Yes. I want you to think Devil Wears Prada. Do you remember the movie?
I love that movie.
And she's standing there and they've got the assistant next to her giving her the names, so-and-so's coming up. And then she gets to say their name. Well, please give me that book. And I do have organizations who fix me up the VIP book. And I'm going to tell you, that's gold. that is gold, because then when those VIP people come up and I can say, oh, Mr. and Mrs., or, oh, Diane, it's great to see you this year again. You know, people love that. They love that you know who they are, and they love to be remembered, which is another reason I love name tags. I love name tags at events. So I know that when those name tags are there, it's an easy, super way to identify people, to use their names. And I always encourage board members to wear their name tags. I encourage organizations to give out name tags with the board members' names, so that as they're working the room, people can easily spot them. So I do think relationships, that type of thing is really important. And Leah, when you mentioned about, the people in the room, I want to know who is in that room, and that's a good helping aid.
That, we talked about this last week actually on the 501c drop, kind of having people that in advance of your event, I was calling them ambassadors, but people that kind of are getting excitement up about the event, or even fundraising for the event well in advance of the event, but having all of those folks also having on some form of name tag or identification, so that you can know that if you don't really know anyone to talk to, at least you'd have someone to talk to. That could be helpful too.
Yes, yes. And that's one of the things that our ambassador teams do. They look for people who are standing, maybe a couple by themselves, and they go and visit with them. We want everyone to feel included, and maybe invite them over to participate in something. Or if there's an educational display, which I always encourage for everyone to have, then that is a great place for people to go that don't know anyone, and they get to meet a board member or two just right there to learn more about the organization, just from having just an informational setup.
That's great. I can't tell you how many events I've gone to as a guest, invited by a friend, where I didn't really know what the organization was about. You're invited and you trust this friend of yours and you go, but you don't really know. And then, there have been several I've left where I'm still unclear as to what the organization does. So I think that's a great idea as well. So when you go into a room then, Shannon, and you've done the prep work and maybe you do have some names, I know that there's, and I don't know how you guys do this, again, admittedly, but I know there's this magic to the vibe in the room that you all create, you as auctioneers, and you particularly create. But there's got to be an out of the box energy in the room right away. So when you go into the room, what are the tells for this is going to be a great crowd, or, oh man, I've got my work cut out for me?
It's really actually pretty easy. But what happens when you first arrive an event? I'm talking about the very first thing. What do? You go park.
Yeah.
And that can be a terrible experience. And if you're in a long line of valet, or if you've got to go park off-site in a garage somewhere to self-park, and then come over 2 blocks in the rain or in snow. So
or in
all
your
of
high
that,
heels.
Yes, all of that is setting you up to what it's going to be like for the experience for that person for that night. And so, I'm a firm believer in making sure that every aspect of the event is premeditated, so that when someone walks in the door, all of that was so easy that they didn't have to think about it. So that when they walk in, they're fresh, they're happy, and then they're walking into a situation that it's going to just be fun. And my tell on how I know that it's going to be a tough crowd, when we're walking and trying to sell golden tickets, or if we're trying to promote something and we're not getting any feedback, or people are saying, oh, here's the worst. We're going to think about it and get back to you. Oh, that's like a
Development directors hate those words too. Trust me.
So we know that it's going to be tough when we're getting a lot of "we'll get back to yous" and not many people purchasing the blinky rings. And if you're not seeing a lot of those activity pieces that are, the necklaces, if you're going to do a Mardi Gras bead game, or the bracelets, if you're not seeing a lot of those, then that's kind of the first tell of, ooh, this could be a little bit of a challenge. And then let's regroup, see what we need to do.
So in that regrouping, I think this question kind of goes both ways with what you were mentioning earlier about people come to you and say they want change, but then when you suggest the change, they really are a little bit change averse and a little nervous. What does it look like what does adaptability look like for fundraising events today? How do organizations, when they are adapting, what does that look like? And then what about those that kind of don't adapt?
Well, I think it's just kind of like, if you're looking at a town that doesn't grow is usually going to die. There's no such thing as staying stagnant. You either grow or you go backwards. And I think that's the same thing with an organization. You either grow or you go backwards. So organizations that aren't building relationships and really developing core groups to talk to. And I mean, I can't use the word relationship enough, but that's where it's all going to, I mean, that's where those people are going to stick with the people they feel comfortable with. And so if you're waiting once a year, you invite people to your event and you're asking them to be a sponsor, you ask them to make a donation, and it happens once a year, and then you don't have any communication with them until the next year when you're doing the same thing. I just want to say shame on you. I mean, that's so mean, but really shame on you.
No, I know. I hear you. It's so hard, and it is hard for the nonprofit to do, but it is so essential. And yeah, the relationships are the name of the game.
So we really talk about a gratitude plan. And, you know, it's funny because when the event is over on a Saturday night, everybody thinks that on Sunday that organization is all done and now they get to go on vacation. Oh, it's just the opposite. I mean, and a lot of times that next week after the gala is worse than the week before the gala, because that's where they have to really start wrapping up. They got to get their invoicing out. They have to make sure that all the bills get paid. They have to make sure that all the donors get their prizes, they get their silent auction items. So, but most importantly, what I say is before all that happens, make sure you have your gratitude plan in place. Make sure that everyone at the event, no matter what giving level they were at, make sure that they feel appreciated, because that's how you start building that relationship, so that maybe people who were just trying you out on for size to see if you're a good fit, maybe your communication with them makes all the difference between that $50 or $100 donation and then next year you get the $5,000, because they see what you do, they believe in your mission, and they know about you, and they become a volunteer and they become active. And it's like, oh my gosh, you just now cultured and nourished this amazing person that loves what you're doing, and they're all in. I mean, isn't that our goal? We want people all in for us.
That is so well articulated, Shannon. I just love that. We, here over at BetterUnite talk a lot about tools that can help with that and facilitate it and automations and so forth. But that was an incredible description of that full life cycle around how, as you know, people working in nonprofits, everybody up and down the org chart, but development directors particularly and executive directors, how we want those folks to kind of really like sink their hooks into the organization on a much deeper level than superficial.
Absolutely.
That was great. I could write all of that down. Like, we should have some sort of tattoo with that.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm tattoo free. Wait.
I love it. All right. So then, okay. So we've, you talked about change, and we've talked about let's try some stuff new, and people do want some new things, and they want more casual and more playful. And so what about when somebody has decided on a game? You'll have to name one.
So let's do some fun ones. So let's talk about what it was and what it can be now. So let's say heads or tails. Okay. Oh my gosh, everybody's done heads or tails for years.
Yeah.
So what we've done is said, okay, so let's shake up the heads or tails a little bit and let's substitute roll the dice. And they're like, okay, what's that? It's great. It's a 4 foot, it's about, probably 3 foot by 3 foot inflatable dice. One dice.
Really real dice. Okay, got it.
We're going to roll that dice. And so you still sell the beads. And I always say, give them an enticement, 1 for 20, 3 for 50. Mm-hmm. And then, but don't sell more than 3, because then the game goes on too long and you crush your momentum. So huge, take a note, no more than 3. So, and then, so you put 1 hand in the air for odds, 2 hands in the air for evens. We're going to roll that dice. And as long as your hands match the dice, then you get to stay standing. But if you miss, you got to take it's like a mulligan in golf. You got to take one of those strands off. And if you're only wearing one, bye-bye. So, it's a fun little twist, and it works great, especially if you're doing like a casino night. Perfect. It even blends in. So what I like to do is take those revenue generators that they were using before, and then find either a way to roll it into their theme, or just change it up altogether. And let's take that one out. Now, sometimes people are like, oh no, our crowd loves our heads or tails. So then that's why okay, we're going to keep it, but we're just going to change it and switch it up a little bit. Oh, and I've never had anybody say, oh, we wish we wouldn't have done that.
That I was actually wondering that. Do you ever have, and I would imagine that nothing you've suggested this has happened to you, but Have you ever seen something that just kind of fell flat? That like the crowd wasn't into it. It felt a little gimmicky or yucky in some ways. Or do you have any cautionary tales around that?
Oh gosh, I wish I could say something. I mean, I've had auctions that kind of fell flat just because the items that were in the room, the
Yeah,
ones that we were using. So we have lots of cautionary tales there and then advice on live auction items. So,
sure.
we can definitely, we want to make sure that we're giving a good variety. I mean, you may want to talk about that later, but as far as
Very good
the
here.
revenue generators, instead of the typical wine pull, well, let's do a wine toss. Let's make it fun and interactive. Because people who don't know anyone and they show up and they're just standing by themselves, let's give them something, an activity. Let's give them
Yeah.
something to be engaging. And so if you put the wine bottles or spirits, a lot of times we'll mix some wine and spirits and put them in together into a triangle and then put a rope, and then people are buying a ring, one ring for 10, three for 20, or one for 25, three for 60, whatever it is. And then they're throwing wine. They're throwing not throwing wine. They're throwing the rings on to trying to ring a bottle. And it's fun. And then if they don't after 3 tries, then you give them a consolation bottle. So
Oh, that's great. Okay.
everybody
I was
wins.
wondering. I was picturing it, the carnival game in my head, and wondering if that's what you meant. But yeah.
But we want to keep everybody happy, right? And so in order to be happy, they have to be a winner. We don't want anybody to walk away going, oh my gosh, I just blew $50 and didn't get anything for my. So you give them a consolation prize because everybody loves to walk away with a bottle of
Yeah.
wine or a bottle of spirits. So that's a win-win. And it's so much more fun than just walking up and grabbing a bottle off a table and like opening it up. Oh, I got a bottle of red or I got a white. So it's just fun. And then plus people are walking are gathering around, and then it becomes you're cheering them on,
I was
and then
thinking that.
and then it just increases the energy in the room. So it's a lot of fun.
And these are all happening. So my next question is about like maybe importance applied. So how much importance, or where in the hierarchy do you put these kinds of games, revenue enhancers, with our silent auction, live auction, paddle raise? Like how do you how do you encourage development teams or event teams to think about those?
I want you to pick out the ones that are most important because we don't want too many, because then you're looking at donor fatigue. Don't wear them out, and you don't want people to feel like, oh my gosh, I went to their event and they literally wore us out. They just asked for money every time you turn around.
Yeah.
That is not what you want. So you have to find a nice little happy mix. So 2 revenue generators in the cocktail time is plenty. And then you move in. So one of the ways I like to look at it is you have your pre-function fundraising, okay, sponsorships and ticket sales, and then maybe even throwing in a golden ticket, which I love that because my goal on the golden ticket is to pre-sell those before you even arrive to the event. So I consider that a pre-function fundraiser. And so if you have those going on, and then you have your event night fundraisers, and then your post event, and we're going to talk about how to make money after the event too, because it's a great opportunity. So looking at it in 3 directions: pre-event, the night of, and post-event. There's ways to make money in all 3 areas, because what you're wanting to do is reach people who maybe weren't able to come. And so if you're talking to someone, and Leah, you've got friends that they're on, you're on a board and you're saying, oh, you're not going to be able to make it. Well, hey, we're going to make this fun. So why don't you buy a golden ticket from me? You're making a donation and you may win a trip. So for those people who are, I'm sure everyone knows what a golden ticket is, but we
I was
probably
actually going to say, I know we're talking about this a little in a minute, but why don't you go ahead, since we're talking about it, explain the golden ticket for anybody that might not know.
Sure. Golden ticket is you sell usually 100 or 120 tickets for $100 a piece. Now, here's the way it has changed, Leah. In the past, people would do this as the best of live. And they would say, they would pull a name out, and then that person would get to choose off of the whole entire live auction. And all I want to say is, no, don't do that. You're losing money, because they're going to pick probably the most expensive item in your live auction. And instead of having a prize that and you've controlled and you know how much it's going to cost, now they're picking that $6,000 or $8,000 item that you could have sold at the live auction. So control the prize. And my favorite prize to do on a golden ticket is to have something that's going to appeal to the masses, which would be a trip to like 4 or 5 different locations where that winner gets to choose which experience they want. And so put on there a domestic or two, an international or two, and then maybe even just a stock your wine, so that people who don't even want to travel, they're going to have the opportunity of being able to get some wine, and not have to travel. So I love the opportunities that we're giving people on that.
That's great, and I'm trying to get down to, because I know I have a question about this part, but I wanted to talk about, you mentioned golden ticket. You said that the trips are a really good option there, and I wanted to talk to you about consignment and how to really effectively leverage consignment items. A lot of times I know that consignment items are trips. So what guidance do you have for the nonprofits that you work with around how to really most effectively use any consignment items, as well as any I don't want to say warnings, but any kind of boundaries that you
Red
might have?
flags,
Red flags. There you go. That's the word.
Well, and I know that there are auctioneers who are like, oh, we don't use consignment. But here's the thing, a lot of organizations, they need it because they can't come up with the donations. And I mean, I'm going to tell you, if an organization tells me, Shannon, we have 8 live auction items, they're all donated and they're great, I'm going to be doing cartwheels. And I'm like, yes, congratulations, because you're an anomaly. Okay, you're the unicorn out there. So, but typically people need some help. And what consignment does is it offers that wow factor, number one. So when I bring to them an autographed Taylor Swift guitar, they're like, oh, sweet, So, or when I bring to them a special safari in South Africa that includes all these extra goodies, and then be able to say, now I've been on this trip, so I know it's great, so I can really give you a great testimonial, and I'll stand behind this. So when I know that those items are good or fantastic, then I feel really good about selling them. But sometimes those organizations, they just need something that's just a little over the top, because maybe they have just all $1,000 or $2,000 experiences, but we know there's somebody in that room who will give $5,000, $7,000, $10,000, but they don't have a live auction item to get them excited about it. And honestly, when you're talking about some of the things that have changed in our culture in the last 5 years, one of the things that we're seeing, that people really want to get something for their donation. So we still have people who are very philanthropic and want to donate the $5,000, $10,000, but we also have people who really want to get something. We want a trip for our $5,000, something like that. So that's been a big change. So we want to make sure that we're providing them the opportunity to spend their money, right? And so I think by doing that the right way, then the organization is in a good win place, and so is the donor. But if you sell something that's a bad experience, it's going to come right back and it's going to haunt that organization, because that donor is going to blame the auctioneer. They're going to blame the organization, and they are probably going to badmouth you to every one of their friends that says, oh, we bought that such and such trip and it was a disaster and we'll never go back to that event. So that's the last thing you want to happen. So we believe that, number one, you want to vet your consignment company that you're using, net your vendors, as in anything, as in production, as in software platform, as in any vendor that you're using, you want to vet them. You're vetting your auctioneer, you're vetting all of the other things. Why would you not vet your trip consignment company? So we definitely have organizations that are out there that are doing a great job. And then the second thing on that is that whenever you have a trip that you're selling, so let's say the cost is $3,000, don't sell it for $3,500. If you have a $3,000 trip, the value should be around that $7,500 mark, so that you can sell it anywhere in that $5,000 to $6,000 range, still make $2,000 to $3,000, but your donor's still getting a great value for their donation. So if a consignor is telling you that here's a $3,000 trip, and you ask them what the value is, and they say $4,000, walk away. That is not one that you want. You want to get it. You want something that's going to have at least double the value, and then that way you can still have a good margin to sell at. And another thing that you want to do is you want to leave that in a selling position. So that means, like, let's say if at $3,000, you had one person who bought one at $5,500, then after the event, this is part of that post fundraising I was telling you about. After the event, you can send out an email. Thank you so much. We're so excited to have you at the event, and it was a huge success. We raised this much money. And by the way, we're thrilled to be able to share that due to the generosity of you can embellish that however you want. We have the ability to offer and extend the offer on these trips. So if you are interested in attending or going on this trip for this amount of money, please reach out to us and we'll get you set up.
Oh, okay. And you see that work well?
Oh, it's amazing. So,
Amazing.
yes. So, it's all about getting the right trips. And I tell people, I'll tell our developmental directors, when you get ready to decide what you're looking for, talk to your board, talk to your table captains, and find out what trip is on your bucket list. I'm not really a bucket list term fan, but what's on your travel agenda? Where are you interested in going? Because you could be traveling and then benefit the organization and help raise money for them.
Well,
And
that's a
then usually
really good
board
idea.
members are excited about that.
Yeah, so you've got your captive audience. We know they will be in the room, and like let's figure out what it is that you want. So if you are selling, you're using a consignment. So you've identified a great trip, you've got a good relationship, you feel comfortable and vetted with your consignment company, and you've found your trip. Like how do you make sure that you sell those golden raffle tickets? You mentioned ahead of time. Like I'd be curious to know how do you make sure the word gets out well enough, or what's necessary to get the word out for the golden ticket prior to the event, and then if you're selling them during the event, how's the best practice at doing that? What's the big
Social media,
Oh, there we go.
social media. So what we always tell people is to get all of your staff to post and share it. And then your board needs to get on there because that's where the tickets are coming from or who's going to be purchasing the tickets. So a lot of board members will say, oh, I'm not really comfortable posting, or, that's not really my thing, but they can share and they can share it and put it on their wall. So I always want someone to be able to prepare a really professional looking post. Hop on Canva. They can, you got people who do that. And then the goal is have each board member selling 5 or 10 tickets. And that way going into the night, you've already sold almost all of your tickets. And if you have 10 left, then that can be a fun thing to do from the stage. Friends, we only have 10 tickets left. The first 10 hands in the air, and that's all, then you're gonna get the last tickets. And I probably will put those tickets on top so you have a better chance of winning, So I'll just throw that out there and mess with people. But and sometimes we'll do 100 because that way, if you look at, you're going to gross $10,000. The cost of that package usually runs around. We try to find packages that run between $1,500 and $2,000, and that way they're going to net for sure over $8,000. And sometimes we'll even say, why don't you do 120 tickets, and that way that extra 20 tickets covers the cost of the package, so you're going to net $10,000.
Oh,
And that's a winner right there. That's popular. And then also then that night, having that big poster board on an easel with a volunteer standing there promoting that golden ticket, if there's any left, then that's important. I mean, I have clients that sell 2 or 3 of those out before the night of. I mean, they'll
wow.
do the first 100 and then they'll do another package and then they'll do the third package and we'll finish out the night of. So they're going in there with $30,000 almost in their pockets.
I love that. And it's also, I would say, a very good use for a digital raffle wheel. That would be a thing that you could drop in and do the drawing right there. And if they didn't buy it this year, they would certainly buy it next year, knowing that excitement was going to happen. So
That's
I love
fun.
all of that. All right. So I want to just go back to some of these revenue enhancers that you've described, it, then get really practical. And so thinking about like the folks that are listening right now, and I actually see we've got some comments in the chat. So thank you. I haven't mentioned that, but if you have questions, please just drop those into the chat and we will try to get to as many of those as we can. One of the questions was, what is a golden ticket? So we already answered that one. Way to go, Shannon. But so practical advice, somebody's planning their gala for maybe the fall or even later this spring. We want to have them walk away with stuff that they could implement. So you've already talked about the wine toss. What is, in your opinion, this is going to be like rapid fire, some sort of game show, Shannon. What's the sweet spot on pricing, number of bottles, and setup? You mentioned the triangle, so that it's not, but in my head, I'm picturing the carnival, but obviously we want it to be an elevated carnival experience. So what's your guidance on that?
Well, maybe they're having a carnival theme, so it's
There
right
you
in theme. I mean, you want to elevate it according to your event. So theme it with your
go.
event.
Good point.
And so, you might want to do crystal bracelets that you're tossing, the little fake diamond, so you can take that and go any direction that you want with that. But I think there's a big difference between a real good revenue generator and an engaging activity. And I think of that more as an engaging activity than a big fundraiser, because most people, when you ask them how much money they're going to raise on their wine pull or their wine toss, it's going to be usually around $1,000 to $1,500.
Yeah.
So for some organizations, that's huge, and I understand that that's important. But for organizations who are looking at two, three, $400,000 and more, that's more of a time sucker for their staff
Yeah.
than it is, and they're doing it more, like I said, for an engaging activity, and that's okay if that's what your goal is. But I'm a full believer that if you have a goal, go into your event with what your goal is. And I love three goals. I want to see a goal that they feel comfortable that they're going to be able to hit. Then I want to see a little bit of a stretch goal. And that means something that's going to really push the team. We're going to have to make this, we've got to work hard to get this to hit. And then I want the dream goal that if all the stars align and all the magic happens from the stage, we're going to hit the dream goal. That's mine. That's the dream goal. I want that dream goal. And so, but then let's also be really cognizant of how are we going to get there?
Yeah.
So let's look, what's our budget? And I want to see a budget from my organizations. How much are you going to make on sponsorships? How much is your goal for live auction? Because guess what? If you just start throwing these things out there, then it's just like shooting a shotgun instead of a rifle. You're going to be looking at trying to just trying to hit the masses. But what we want to do is we want to look at each individual area and surpass that area. But we can't do that if we don't know what the goal is. So live auction, our goal is 50,000. Well, so far we have donated 6 packages under $3,000. We're not going to hit $50,000.
Yeah.
So by breaking that down and really analyzing the numbers, honestly, Leah, that's the goal to a successful event, is really breaking down and seeing where we want to hit those numbers and how to successfully hit our goal by making sure that we have at least $50,000 worth of items that people are going to bid on.
We do that in our for-profit businesses too, right? Like we need to set a goal. We have to forecast. If it's not, what is the saying? It's like, if it's not measurable, it doesn't exist. So, but I mean, it's like the dream to be able to say, okay, here's what we need to do. And now let's reverse engineer how we're going to get there. So with these events, it seems like it's from your perspective, very straightforward as how to approach those goals.
Right. And so we had an event Saturday night, and their goal was we were going to sell 6 Portugal trips. We were going to sell 14 Sonoma trips. I mean, we knew going in what I was supposed to be doing. So then that told me during the marketing time, during that cocktail time that I think of it as marketing time, my team, we're working a live auction display area and talking to people about what the packages are for that night. Right. We're able to not only talk to people, we can see who's interested, and then we can know where they're sitting. We can even ask people, would you like to go ahead and kick us off at $1,000 on that package? Well, yeah.
Before even stepping on stage?
Yes. Oh. And that way we know who's vested. Can you, and now granted, we may ask 10 people, do you want to start us at $1,000? But they're paying attention, and don't you know that they're poking each other and saying, that's us, we're at $1,000, we're in. And they're already engaged, they're watching, they're focused because they're already participating. And that's the goal. We want participation. And if you start low in that live auction, you're going to get a lot more participation going. And then you're setting kind of some expectations of, hey, we want you to get that paddle in the air. Because once you get that paddle in the air, it's hard for them to stop.
And those people are going to be paying attention to your countdown timer to make sure they're in their seat at the time that the live auction starts. I'm not going to miss that. I love that.
Exactly. Yes.
So where then do in our revenue enhancers conversation, do you kind of make sure that they're all done and completed by the time the live auction paddle raise portion is starting? Or what's your kind of ideal, I imagine this varies event to event, but if you had your pick, what would be the ideal run of show with an organization that has decided, okay, we're going to do some of these revenue enhancers and then also have a paddle raise and a live auction?
Well, one of my first things I always say is PSS, preset salads. Please preset your salads, please.
Less noise from people moving plates around, always.
Exactly. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a huge fan of preset desserts as well, because then that's, again, one less thing to have. Sure. And I don't know about you, but I don't usually get to eat dinner. So if that dessert's sitting there and I'm visiting with people at a table because I'm getting ready to walk off and not eat my meal, I get to pick on the dessert. And that's my favorite part anyway. So, but yes, less interruptions as possible. And I love to start that live auction right after dinner. And actually, if we're going to play a game, an interactive game like roll the dice, or any type of game from the stage, then I usually like to do it first thing after dinner, because that gets them up. It wakes everybody up, because
That's a good point.
they're getting comfortable and their stomachs are full. They're
Yeah.
kind of like, so we're getting them up, getting them excited, and getting them participating. And then go right into the live auction, because that energy is already kicked up and they're excited. And then from that, then you go to that mission moment. And it's kind of like a roller coaster ride that we're taking our donors on. So we're getting them the key excitement, and then starting to bring them back down then for the mission moment, then that video, that heart impactful video or testimonial. And then we're building back up for all of that giving. And then we're bringing them back down with how happy we are. And then we're doing that paddle toss in the air. And, oh, wait, you don't know what a paddle toss is? Oh, well, hey, if you want to know what my number one thing to do that's quick, raises an immense amount of money, and involves the whole room, it is the paddle toss.
Really?
So,
Okay, well, describe it for us, please, just in case somebody doesn't know that's listening.
there might be, and it's known by a couple different names, but it really just needs to be called the paddle toss, because you're physically tossing the paddles in the air. So at the $100 level, we started off by saying, okay, now friends, our last level of the night. Now we believe in reduce, reuse, and recycle. So what I would love for you to do is our team's going to come around and we're going to gather up your paddles. Now, before you give us your paddle, do know that it's $100 donation. So boom, slide pops up on the background, $100 to play. So giving us your paddle is giving us $100 donation. We're going to bring those paddles up in the air, and oh, this is where it gets fun. We're going to throw those paddles up in the air. That's right. They're going to be flying, paddles flying. And then we're going to have so-and-so reach out, grab a paddle, hold it up, and that person is going to win this. The next slide pops up, and it's something that, okay, this is the big secret. You've got to have something that everyone in the room would give $100 to win. So don't do an overnight stay at the local Comfort Inn. I mean, it's got to be something that everybody wants to win. So whether it's taking something off of your silent auction, but the value needs to be about $1,000 to $2,000.
Okay.
In a room of 400 people, are you ready for these numbers? Because it's pretty wild. It's just wild. So in a room of 400 people, we definitely want both people in a couple to have a paddle. That's right. Don't give one paddle per couple, because at the end, to play this game, a lot of people will give you both of their paddles. So you just doubled up. And then in a room of 400 people, it would not be any surprise at all to get $15,000, $17,000, $20,000.
That's great.
That. And it's quick, it's fast, it's fun. And then I always, when we're getting ready to throw the paddles up in the air, I'll say, okay, let's get all of our cameras out. The photographer, are you ready? Because this is going to be fun. We have everybody help us count 1, 2, 3, whoosh, and they all go up in the air. And then the camera, all the, popping. And then someone that you want to get some extra love. And I always say, but you don't want to give them the microphone. So this is their moment of stage. Then they're going to reach out, grab that paddle, and they're just like, oh, yay, and they just had their moment. And especially it could be someone that's getting an award that night, or someone that you just want to give some recognition to. Maybe it's a volunteer that's been over the top with a lot of volunteer hours or something. But anyway, that is quick. It takes usually 5 to 7 minutes. And I would challenge you to find anything that's that fun and that successful in that amount of time, and plus to collectively get everyone in the room. And here's what I always say. If we have 400 people in the room, I'll say, friends, if every one of you gave us your paddle right now, and that's what this is about tonight, is collective giving. We could raise $40,000, but we can't do it without you. We need your paddle.
That is so, and that is to answer my question. I don't know if I've asked it yet, but something that somebody can do like today, that start planning for today, even if your event is in 2 weeks. I mean, that's an easy add-on, it seems like to me, to, like you said, even just grabbing something from your silent auction as the item and then throwing that in there, literally throwing.
But the secret, it has to be something that appeals to the masses. So probably our number one popular item is literally the extra large Yeti cooler, and then fill it up with spirits. Mm-hmm. And we call it a stock your bar. Everyone loves that, or a tailgate winning, but it really depends on your group. But most people love to win that big Yeti cooler. And by the time you fill that up with liquor, you're looking at $1,000 to $1,500. And it's It's super popular. Sometimes I'll have people put it all in a wheelbarrow and they wheel it out. But here's the thing too. You don't pre-promote it. This is a surprise.
Total surprise at the end. Yeah.
You don't want people to really start thinking about, oh, we're going to do that, so we're not going to spend this $100 over here. We're going to wait and do that. No, this is a spontaneous, last minute, just a, oh, come on, give us your paddle. It's just another $100. Let's do it, right?
And they've usually been drinking for a little while by then, so maybe the inhibition is a little bit lower. And I love the idea of making sure everybody gets a paddle. Frankly, as from a software perspective, that's much better to us, just to make sure that there's no, grabbing a paddle from somewhere else, or like, we always prefer it for that to happen. So I think that's wonderful guidance. So you mentioned a minute ago that, you want people to get up and move, and that helps to, the post-dinner sluggishness, maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. But what you've talked before, and I think I read this in your blog, that movement creates momentum. How, talk a little bit, say more about the relationship between the physical interaction at an event and their propensity to give.
Well, and I also, once we get people seated, I like to keep them seated, because if they wander off, then sometimes they wander home.
Yeah, hard to get them back. Yeah.
Yes. And once you get people up and talking, it's hard to get them quieted back down, especially in school events. Oh my gosh. That's our biggest challenge. Schools are the toughest because people like to visit. And I mean, it can be a super big challenge. But I mean, I love, like my Catholic schools, I'll get, the priest to come up and get everybody quiet, because all they have to do is in the name of the Father. Yeah, boom, and it's just, you can hear a pin drop. And I'm like, oh my God, I just love that. So, but getting people's attention can be a challenge once you let them start talking again. So I always say, once that meal's done, if you see people starting to stand up to go walk or do something, then that means it's time to get going. So don't give them that chance to wander off. So I guess I don't want them wandering around once we start, but during the networking, you don't want them to go sit down. You want to keep them up and moving around. So I do love when the ballroom is closed off during the cocktail time, so that people have to mill around in the area. That way they don't get to go sit down at their table and completely just ignore all the fundraising going on.
Interesting. Okay. You know what? I see that a lot, and I've actually never really put strategy behind that, but now that makes sense. That kind of forces them to maybe walk through and see the silent auction items, or even view the videos or the images of the live auction items, and we're keeping them from going and sitting down and becoming still. So that's really fascinating, and I had not thought about that. Okay, so you mentioned that at this past weekend, I think, this event, you sold 14 of one trip and 6 of another. So how do you kind of leverage the multiples of auction items, or, I'm assuming a lot of these are consignment items. What types of items work best when you've got, when you know that you're going to sell multiples, and how do you pitch that from the stage so that it feels like excitement and not like it's like a bait and switch?
Right. So, and one of the things is there's no premeditation on this part of it, because, I'm premeditated, of course, but no one knows that I'm going to sell more than one item. Right. So it looks like I'm just selling one item. And so let's just say, for an example, I'm getting ready to sell a Dominican Republic, 5 net all inclusive. Then I'll say, all right, now friends, tonight I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to put your toes in the sand, and I want you to say, I'm supporting the mission. And what better way to support tonight's event than to have your toes in the sand and celebrate while saying, I'm supporting this organization. And so then I'll start auctioning it off. I'm going to get 1,000. I ain't going to get $1,000, and now 12 and a half. I ain't going to get 12 and a half. Yes, and now I'm going to go 1,500. Out of $1,500, and now I'm going to go, so I'm going to get 1,750. I know you do. Yes. And now I'm going to get 2,000. I'm at 70, 2,000. Yes. And now 22 and a half. I'm going to get $2,000, 2,250. I know you want to. Oh, wait. Leya, your bidder number 428. I have you at $2,000. Now tonight, friends, I don't want to leave anyone out. I want you all to be able to lay on the beach and say, we're supporting our mission tonight. So all you have to do is put your paddle in the air at $2,000, and you're going to the Dominican Republic. Number 427, you're going to the Dominican Republic. Number 528, you're going. Boom, boom, boom. And we just do the room. And my record to date is 59 trips at one time.
Oh my gosh.
And that netted, yeah, that was a net to the organization, net of almost $90,000.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. And they
So,
were at a lower price point like that, but you could get so many other people in the room able to, oh,
right.
that's really, I have chill bumps.
Because the
And
value
I
was,
won a trip to the Dominican Republic in that, so that's exciting.
well, yes, because the value was 4,500, and so we could sell it at 2,000, and then the organization is still making over $1,000 a trip. It just, you use whatever works best for you have to play the numbers according to the organization that you're working with.
Yeah.
And so, but it's just a matter of making it exciting. Because then at one point I'm like, all the cool kids are going, you better get your paddle in the air. And they're like, and then you'll see 2, 3, 4 people at the same table start raising their paddle because they don't want to get left out. And
Yeah.
so it's the excitement, it's the non pre-planning, it's the spontaneous energy in the room. And so I mean, we're planning up and getting everybody excited, and my ambassadors are on the floor. Yes, yes, yes. And they're getting everybody hyped up. I'm all about the E's, and you probably saw that on my website. Energy, excitement, enthusiasm, entertainment. I love those words because I feel like if people are having fun, they spend more money. And that I'm a big believer in that.
I love that.
So that's kind of the Oprah moment. We call that the Oprah moment. You get a trip and you get a trip and you get a trip. And so it works out perfect, but you have to find that right Oprah moment package for your crew.
So it's really about knowing who's in the room. Again, we're back. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions that I'm going to really try and get to a few of those, but I did want to give you, before we do that, one chance to say, so if you could have our, event planners, development directors, other auctioneers, everybody that's listening today, if you could have them walk away with one single idea, one single something that you want them to take away from your experience, from the things that we've talked about today, or it frankly doesn't even need to be that, what would you say to everybody?
Oh my gosh, I think I've already given them so many nuggets.
You really have. You
I'm like a
really have.
nugget dealer right here. Nugget, nugget, nugget. I think trust the process. Trust the process because some things sound scary when they're new or different. And if you're dealing with someone who has experience, trust them because they've seen it happen. And I mean, when you collaborate with a professional, then they're going to make sure that they walk you through the right direction. So I think that's probably my biggest nugget.
I love that. That's really wonderful guidance, honestly, in many things, but especially regarding hiring a benefit auctioneer. Thank you so much, Shannon. Okay, can I jump in and ask you a few of the questions that have come into the chat? We've got some really good ones here. So Tiffany has asked, what are effective educational displays you have seen? We always struggle to find different ways to share our mission with our guests at the gala. I think that's a great question.
So I love the 6-foot pull-up, like the 3-foot by 6-foot pull-up banners.
Mm-hmm.
That could just be like put 1 or 2 of those. I like to have something about what your organizations do to make a difference or who is benefiting from your programming. So if you're a domestic violence shelter, then put on there some statistics because those are scary to people. It's like, oh my gosh, we helped 75 women this year transition into a different life. We helped 75 families be able to provide food and health care. Hit some statistics because those are huge. And when you're seeing them right there with some really dramatic shadowed pictures, I know we have to be really careful with privacy, sure. But the backs of someone aside with just a darker, that dark image, a shadowed image.
Right.
But sometimes those painful pictures are the ones that really resonate. Yeah. World Hunger, when we're raising money for people who really just don't have food for their families, just those poverty pictures. And it's hard, but people need to see those because they Absolutely. Need to see how they're making a difference that night.
That's great. I love that. And then I have a next question that actually is interesting because I had Nicole, I had a question about this written down here and I didn't ask it, but I was thinking it. So she says, I feel like little things may distract from the main asks. And my question was, I would reframe it as, how can we make sure that these revenue enhancers we've talked about don't cannibalize in any way the live auction and the paddle race? Even the silent auction, I get asked that question as well.
Sure. And they're happening at a totally different time. So remember what I said about, we have the 3 areas of fundraising: pre-event, night of, and post. Well, it's the same thing the night of. We can divide the night of into 3 as well. We can do cocktail time from the stage and then the other revenue enhancers that we're doing, because sometimes those are done ahead of time. And
Yeah.
so what I would say is that you're really separating and you're doing a different dollar ask. So in the cocktail time, you're usually doing 25, 50, $100. Those are the games. That's the ask that you're doing. But I would encourage you not to do bigger asks, because then that does compete with your fundraising, with your special appeal. So don't compete, but by doing the different dollar amounts. And think of it this way. There are going to be people at your event. Yes, you want every person at the event to be able to spend $1,000 or more. But don't you also want to give people the experience that night that can't do the 1,000, to help them feel like they made a difference too? And I feel like by giving them the opportunity to donate $50 or $100, that's going to help their heart. And that's going to make them feel special, because we don't want to just we don't want them to feel like that they didn't make a difference at a smaller level.
Everyone's giving it their own capacity. I've gotten this question before, and I often think that that the worry is that there's like this mental math going on where like, oh, I've already given at this, but that I find that to rarely be true. And honestly, we know this if we look at silent auction data, where people will bid a lot of money. Like if you go and add up what somebody bid, they're not going to bid more than they can give, but they didn't win at these different levels. So I do think that maybe we underestimate people's willingness to participate in different places at different times and different levels. So
or we're overestimating and thinking they're thinking more about it than they actually are.
Right. We're overestimating their math capability too.
And there's one, and I do want to mention, please don't put your live auction values on your materials. Don't promote it, because what you're doing is you're put a ceiling on it. So if this is worth 5,000, and then they're going to stop at 5,000. Yeah. So don't put those values on there. That's another little tidbit that I can save you and make you more money by not doing that.
Particularly for those collectibles and even for trips and experiences. I mean, they don't have a hard and firm value either, right?
They're all priceless.
It's priceless. Everything's priceless. Okay, so I have one more. I'm going to get to one more question, and then I'm sorry, but we will have to answer the rest of these by email. But if you do, so it sounds like we've got a buffet dinner that cannot be avoided, or the food around the world, or whatever that is. If you have to do a buffet dinner, how would you order your program?
So I would still do my welcome and maybe get a couple of things out of the way that need to be, your donor, sponsor, thank yous, all of those things. Get those out of the way and then open it up to the buffet. And that way those things are done and that's on their brain. They can be thinking about it, or playing a fun video to at least let people know about your mission. I always believe in 2 videos for the night. I want to do a video at the start of the program that talks about what great things that we're doing, and then that special appeal video that tugs at the heart. So, people will pay attention to a video more, and make sure that you are making the room dark. That's one of the best kept secrets, is to get people to stop talking, turn the lights off, and they get quiet. It's magic. But yes, I would put that and leave a small, don't try to give them an hour to go through the stations. That's another thing. Keep that timeline tight. Let people know with that clock that they have to.
Your clock. I love it.
They better get through there and get their food. Yeah. And so that's a huge. I like to get that going as soon as possible.
Great guidance. Oh my gosh, Shannon, thank you so much for your help and your guidance and all of the work that you do on behalf of our nonprofits sector. I couldn't be more grateful to you. And I just think, like you said, you were the gem, the pearls, the nuggets, all of it, whatever it is, you were like the gumball machine for us today. So much came out. It was so wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Well, Leah, if someone didn't get their questions answered, feel free to email me at shannon@everythinggala.com. And
there we go. Thank you for doing this. Here's our slide. If you have questions, there is Shannon's email address, her website. Please do go check it out, Everything Gala. She is doing some incredible work. You've got a great blog and social media presence. So I just encourage everybody watching to pay attention to Shannon. Thank you again.
Oh, thanks, Leah. It was great to be here.
Of course. All right. And so if you've got questions about BetterUnite, or if you can't remember Shannon's email address, you can always email us. We can put you in touch, support@betterunite.com. And next week, I hope you will join us again. I'm being joined by Ann Twong. She is the Partnership Success Specialist at Double the Donation. And we will be talking about going beyond the bid, unlocking hidden corporate revenue in your supporter base. We have within BetterUnite now a new way for you to identify potential corporate sponsors for your events. So Anne will be here to talk about all of that in addition to corporate matching programs. So you don't want to miss it. Scan the QR code right there. Sign up for next week, March 3rd, Tuesday at 1:30 Central. And again, Shannon, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciated it. And everybody else, thanks for spending a little bit of time with us. We so appreciate it here at our 501c Drop. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and let's all go do some good. Bye-bye.